Welcome to Truth with Consequences. We hope everyone had a great Christmas, and we hope you're looking forward to a new year. Vince, we had a great show last week, but what do you hope the new year brings you?
Peace, bro. Peace. What does Rico say? Peace and love. Peace. Bro, that's all I want. All I want in 2019, think about this, Matt. I want peace and love. Is that asking a lot?
But if you send cards and letters, they will be tossed. Is that correct?
Yes, they will. Yes, they will. Yes, they will. But if anybody out there promises that they will dedicate their life to peace and love in 2019, I will sign their cards.
This is like everybody's nightmare is that this show just turns into Stern references, you know, and that Ringo Starr clip where he's saying peace and love, quit sending me your shit to side, please. Peace and love, peace and love. So Vince, before we get to our subject for this week, I do want to there is an announcement we have to make, right?
Big announcement.
Huge
bro. Big announcement.
We're going to make a couple changes. So what's the big announcement, Vince?
The big announcement is next week we will not be dropping at midnight Eastern Saturday night. Westwood One is moving our day and time, so the show will be dropping 3 o'clock Eastern Tuesday morning. So there won't be a show on Sunday. There'll be a show 2 days later, Tuesday, 3 a.m. Eastern. That will be the new time of the drop.
So today, the show dropped on Sunday the 29th. So the next Sunday, you might have to wait a couple days, unless you're on Patreon. Then you'll get it way earlier. And we're going to start dropping on Tuesdays, starting with the 8th. No show on the 5th. Or I'm sorry, God dang it, this is confusing. No show on the 6th of, let me do all that again. So just to make clear for everybody, our show drops on Sunday. This episode drops on Sunday, the 29th. Normally you would expect an episode on January 6th, but our next episode, as well as all following episodes, will be on Tuesdays, starting with the 8th. Vince, are you excited about our move to Tuesdays?
Very excited, bro. The weekend is tough, and we know everybody's out and about on the weekend, things to do, places to go, people to see. So to get into a weekday schedule, we thought it was the best. Westwood One thought it was the best. So just remember, next week we will not be 12 p.m. Eastern. We will be Tuesday at 3 a.m.
You know, Vince and I have been up all night, so we're recording this ahead of time.
We're punchy.
So we literally might have just told you that 10 times. We had the ECW show last week. I think a lot of people got a lot of answers. Somebody DM'd me and said, hey, is Russo trying to say that ECW had no impact on Attitude? And I said, I don't think you listened to the show, because that's not what he said. He said what Vince Russo influence was different, but maybe it came from other sources, right?
Yeah, and I also made it clear. I thought I made it clear by the very end of the show that between myself, between Eric Bischoff, and between Paul Heyman, we were all bringing wrestling up to speed. We were all mirroring society. That's where the world was in 1996, 1997. And I think we all presented it in our own way, but I think we all did the same thing.
And of course, if you want to do something a little different, you can get on our Patreon. We're heading towards the beginning of the year. What a successful month this has been for our Patreon. We were able to do watch-alongs of Beyond the Mat, watch-along This Is Your Life, and also bonus shows for our other higher tier people who wanted to see you talk about your first 13 weeks of WCW or watch an Attitude show where Steve Austin pissed his pants. We want to really get this Patreon going, guys. So make sure to check us out, patreon.com/RussoCoonTWC. But I guess we're still in December. People need to get on that brand, Russo's brand, and check out what's going on with Russo's brand, right?
Yeah, you have till the end of the month, guys. If you've never been a brand member, 10 shows a week you get. Big Vito, Stevie Richards, Bin Hameen, Disco Inferno, Castrating the Marks. You get all those shows. If you've never been a brand member, you get them for a month for free. Free, bro. No strings attached, no gimmicks, no long-term commitments. You could opt out after the month. It's our holiday gift to you, but you've got to take advantage by December 31st. Go to russosbrand.com.
You know, I heard you and I had talked about maybe me doing castrating the marks at some point and getting on there. But I heard, Vince, that I'm actually going to be on this week, which means by the time most people hear this, I would have already been on castrating the marks. Maybe I'll get a little practice today, but what's the point of having me on castrating the marks on the Realm Network?
Well, first of all, because I like you, I'm going to give you a tip. I don't give tips to anybody, bro. You either succeed or crash and burn on castrating the marks. So I'm going to give you some advice.
All right. Go ahead.
Castrating the marks is a no fart zone. And Matt, if you fart during the show, it will be recorded. It will be pointed out. We will replay it so we can verify that, yes, it is indeed a fart. So I'm trying to save you the aggravation. Don't eat anything prior that could be gassy.
And Jeff Lane's got the recording control, so I can't edit out my farts. Is that what you're saying?
No, absolutely not. And Jeff Lane will play it over and over and over and over again.
So I kind of feel bad for you guys because it's just you two against me. So I have a couple ideas to kind of make things fair for you.
Go ahead. What do you got?
So first of all, I'm thinking maybe I could get drunk, like just get hammered.
That'd be great.
No good. And then
no, I like that. Then because you could jump on our bandwagon then.
And then, or maybe just to even things out, like I could have someone on who's bad at arguing, like Miss Jericho or one of the grapplers, and they could be on my side, and that would kind of even things out. What do you think?
I think that'll be tremendous, bro. I think that's a ratings bonanza.
Actually, I'm cool with all those people now, but looking forward to our show today, Vince. But before we get to that, what's going on in the life of Vince Russo? How are you feeling these days, man?
There are things I need to change. And one of the things I really need to change is I really need to stop caring about what people say. Because the fact of the matter is, bro, I can't control the actions and words of people. People are going to do and people are going to say whatever they want to do and say. I'm not going to change those people. All I can control are my own words and my own actions. But if anybody thinks like that, I would waste a second of my time. I mean, 10, 20, 30 years after the fact, just coming on here and saying stuff that's not true and making stuff up. And it's just really sad. Like if you literally think this is how I would spend the later years of my life, I mean, you
just dissecting
issues,
wrestling
bro.
Stories into your old age years.
Yeah, you, bro. I've got a grandchild now. I'm a freaking grandfather. I've got 3 grown kids. For people to think that I would just be making shit up as I went along, I don't even know what to say, bro. If that's what you think about me, you probably shouldn't listen to me.
So, guys, I'm going to cut in real quick just to let you know what's going on with this episode. Of course, this is Matt Kuhn. We have a great Q&A, which we're going to lead off with. And then after that, we're going to have a collection of reactions from Vince about Bruce Prichard. Now, one of which happened during the taping of the body of this show. And I took that and I'm putting it at the end. And also another conversation we had about it hours later. And then a conversation about it that we are yet to have because Vince has more to say on the subject. And you'll kind of hear me introduce each clip and kind of give my point of view on it, but also in the clip itself with Vince's reaction. So this Q&A is awesome. Don't forget, we're moving to Tuesdays starting on the 8th. So this is our last Sunday of Truth with Consequences. We're not doing the following Sunday. We're doing the following Tuesday and every Tuesday from then on. So enjoy this Q&A, ask Vince anything, and also stay tuned for a whole lot of talk about Vince Russo and Bruce Prichard. This episode, the last episode of 2018, is Ask Vince Anything. We've got some really great fans on our Facebook, Vince. Are you ready to hear some questions?
Yeah, absolutely.
So Michael Berry, who really helps us out with our Facebook and also hosts a couple podcasts, including Revisionist Booking. I don't do fantasy booking, Vince, but I book the shit out of WrestleMania 2. I'm just saying. I can't lie. Michael Berry said, had Vince McMahon been more empathetic to you and provided you with your financial requests, what ideas do you have for the WBF as you started going into WrestleMania 2000, and further? Did you have any kind of ideas festering for you before you left?
No, I mean, I really didn't, because we were still on a roll, bro. I mean, like I said, I say it all the time. I told Vince he had a year to ride the wave. So we were still going strong. We were on a roll. So no, bro, I really wasn't looking ahead. There was really nothing to change at that point.
Joseph C. Stahl on Facebook.com/RussoCoonTWC. Did I see you as an extra in the Billionaire Ted segments, or was that my imagination?
No, I was, bro. I think the day they were shooting it, they just asked me, they needed another body, and they'd asked me if I sat in there. I didn't really, know what it was. I mean, I didn't see a script or anything like that. And so they kind of grabbed me and I did it.
You ever think it's ironic that 1997 Vince Russo looks like he's from 2018? If I go to a bar right now, I'll see a bunch of 23-year-olds that look just like 1997 Vince Russo. I think your look kind of aged well.
Bro, I always I was lucky to have kids, bro. And my kids were always pretty hip. And I always made it, I always made sure I listened to what they were talking about and what they were into and what they were watching and what kind of music they liked. I mean, I was always trying to tune in to my kids because I kind of knew that was our audience and not me.
Of all the people that bury you, dude, this is from Bill Holtz. Who are you the most surprised that bury you, and why?
It's not that I'm surprised, and I'll tell you why I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised because I know he's very bitter. Okay, bro, and rightfully so. I mean, he's got reasons to be bitter. The one that hurts me the most, because I respect him. You see what I'm saying, bro? I can't sit here and tell you the shit that Bruce and those guys say about me. I can't tell you I respect them, because I don't. Bro, you're that's not true. I can't respect somebody that's putting forward a false narrative. I can't. The one that really hurts me because I respect him through and through is Bret Hart. When I hear Bret say something negative about me, that really, really hurts me to the core.
Because of your long relationship with him, in addition to the respect?
I just think it was because of how much I respected him. And I know for a fact how much I tried to right the ship at WCW in the way he was booked and the way he was positioned and treated. The way I tried to right that ship in my short time there, that one, I don't get mad at that one. That one hurts me.
So the other side, again from Bill Holtz, who surprises you that came out as pro Russo? Is there anybody that surprised you that said, oh shit, that guy got it. That shit looked out for me. And, he said, various people have come up and said good things about you. Who surprised you the most?
The one that doesn't surprise me the most, but I am the most grateful and thankful for is Austin. Because Austin was one of the biggest stars in the business, bar none. And Austin will not bat an eyelash of giving me credit or putting me over or say we did that together or remember when we did this and we did that. That's the one I am most grateful for, because he doesn't have to do that, bro. He could say this was me and blah, 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 blah. He never. But every single time the guy's bro, we did work together and we did work closely together and we discussed a lot of that stuff between us. And I am very, very, very thankful, that Steve does that for me.
Do do you know how big a deal that is that he does that for you? Like,
Yes, absolutely.
Even for me as a fan, who was like Vince Russo, but I'm like, well, he's okay with Steve Austin, so I guess there's something there, right?
And like right behind him too, like Sean will say that too. Sean will always say, and Sean's got to be more careful because, Triple H and him are boys, and he works at the WWE and all that jazz. But when I've seen Sean, when Sean's come on my show, Sean's made no bones about what role I played. And
that's two of the biggest. I mean, that's really what you want, And I guess you got to kind of look at where the critiques are. I think, Shawn Michaels and Steve Austin, Mick Foley, and Tony Schiavone, and those people carry some weight. And hey, I just interviewed Ahmed Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
And now I got to always ask questions about Vince Russo, right? That's my thing now. So my question was to him, do you attribute a lot of the success of the Attitude Era to Vince Russo? And he said, yes, I do. I surely do. So
that's surprising, that he's black and I'm a racist and everything. That kind of takes me by surprise a little bit.
Did you know that someone keyed congratulations N-word on his rental car, the day that he won the IC title?
And the first time I ever heard that.
Like, he didn't tell anybody except his friends.
It's crazy.
And that's what kind of turned his attitude. That one thing turned his attitude against it. And, I guess he said he didn't tell any management or anything.
Yeah, and bro, I'll tell you, one of the things that meant the most to me, bro, like that really almost brought me to tears. Okay. Ric Flair just started a show with Conrad. Okay. And he called me, or bro, I don't remember if Rick called me or Conrad called me. One of them called me. I think it was Rick, because I think the first time I talked to Conrad was actually on the show. I didn't know who Conrad was at that point, right? So I think it was Rick that called, bro. I could be wrong, but he asked me to go on his show, right? So I went on Rick's show. That's where I conversed with Conrad for the first time. And, bro, like the following week, I was doing a show on local radio here in Denver. And I was really trying to parlay that into a job. And when my interview was up with Rick, I was like, Rick, you have no idea how huge this would be for me. If I could deliver you on this show, bro, you have no idea. So, bro, it was funny. And Rick goes, okay, well, I'm headed out right now, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, bro, listen, let me call you tomorrow. I'll call you about 12 o'clock tomorrow, this, that, and the other thing. Bro, what do you think I think that means, Matt?
Well,
bro, sure enough, 12 o'clock, whatever it was the next day, Rick called. Bro, I'll be happy to do it. When is it? What's the radio station? What time? What's the number? Bro, I almost wanted to cry. It's the things like that, bro, that you're like, oh shit, the people that count and the people that really matter. And bro, you know where I think that comes from? I really think that comes out of, I think he appreciates what I tried to do with David. I really think deep down inside, bro, there was nobody who gave David Flair more of a push than I did. And I think deep down inside, and then, getting Rick's whole family involved in that and all that stuff, I really think deep down inside he really, really appreciated that and didn't forget. But, bro, he came on the show. He stayed on the show. One of the greatest things anybody ever did for me in the business.
Now, this is something I got to call bullshit on. I'm not calling you a liar, Vince. I'm not calling you a liar. But you went to train at Johnny Rodz Wrestling School. And you always said you never wanted to be a wrestler. Now, who goes to wrestling school and not really have any kind of dream to be a wrestler at all?
Bro, there was no way. Bro, first of all, you got to understand, I was running – I had two businesses at the time, bro. I mean, I had two stores.
So what the fuck – what were you doing there? Where were you training?
Bro, it goes back to freaking Arizzi. When I knew my stores were going out of business, okay, and I knew – bro, you got to do something else for a living. And I knew maybe John Arezzi could help me get my foot in that door. I wanted to learn everything I possibly could. Bro, you got to understand, I'm not a kid at that time. Like, bro, this is like 1990. So, bro, I'm like 30 years old. Like, I'm not a kid. I'm like a 30-year-old man, bro. But I wanted to learn every single aspect of the business.
What was your finisher? Did you ever get a finisher?
I never wrestled.
Yeah, well, just, you know.
No, it's just I was in Vito's corner for one match, and that was it.
I could see your finisher being a sleeper.
That would work. Yeah.
Saying,
I could see that.
Because you're old school, you know, and you could get the Piper thing going, but
no, bro, I had zero. I'm zero. But bro, would I have liked to become a professional baseball player? Oh, absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt. But absolutely no desire.
This is from Chris K. Karam on Facebook.com/RussoKunTWC. Please like the page. We're going to have a lot of exclusive stuff over there. Here's the question from him. Had you known that Vince McMahon was bringing in Tommy Blancha to help you and Ed carry the load with the new show SmackDown, would that have been enough to keep you at WWF in October?
Bro, can I tell you something? I treated that guy like shit. I treated him so badly. And I'll tell you why, bro. You could thank Vince McMahon for that. Because it was one of the things where, bro, Vince didn't have to tell us. Vince didn't have to smarten us up. It was his company. He could do whatever the hell he wanted, but he never smartened me and it up. All of a sudden, we show up one day, and there's this blonde-headed guy with clogs. I'll never forget, he wore clogs, bro. And I was so mean and so nasty to him because of Vince. And it had nothing to do with Tommy. And Tommy had to think I was the biggest a-hole in the world. But thank God I was able to have Tommy on my show. I was able to explain that to Tommy. I was able to apologize out the yin-yang because I was an a-hole to the guy. And, thank God, bro, I was able to really tell him how sorry I was and kind of tell him the reason why.
But that wouldn't have kept you on if he would have stayed.
No.
But, it's interesting, people say you don't accept responsibility sometimes. But, I mean, do you take full responsibility for how you treated them and not really blame Vince McMahon for that?
Oh, yeah. No, of course. No, I said it had nothing to do with Tommy. It had nothing to do with Tommy. And see, Tommy's another one. Bro, Tommy's a great writer. Tommy is an unbelievable, talented, freaking writer, bro. Tommy is good. But it was Vince. Vince was the reason I treated him the way I did, but I treated him that way. Nobody else treated him that way but me. So, no, I take 1,000% accountability for my actions, bro.
From Mark Montanero on Facebook, our Facebook page. If Stone Cold, if you can't tell, I'm trying to push the Facebook of it. If Stone Cold and The Rock never blew up as they did, who would have been next in line for the top spots? So now we're doing the imaginary thing. The Rock and Stone Cold, for whatever reason, don't work out. Who do you think would be next in line? And who do you think the replacements could have been that maybe might have had nearly as much success?
Nobody. But if they didn't get cold feet over Goldust, I think the first run of Goldust could have been huge. I think he would have been one of the biggest, greatest heels of all time. Bro, I think Val Venus, in that time, during that period, I think he could have, become, he could have went up the ladder a little bit and become a bigger star. He had it all. But, bro, nobody was going to touch those two guys. I mean, nobody.
Does Goldust go against your normal, modus operandi for, creating characters where he's nothing like Dustin.
Oh, absolutely, bro. No doubt. I mean, it's what do they call that? An anomaly?
It is an anomaly. He's the
Yeah,
exception
bro.
that makes
No
the
doubt.
rule.
No doubt. No doubt at all.
Because you've often said that wrestlers aren't actors, but Dustin somehow can fucking pull that shit off, right?
Yeah, bro, I got to tell you, I don't want to say he would have become as big as Dusty, because that would be saying a lot. But, bro, he could have been huge. I know he could have been huge. I was right there. He could have been huge.
And they got cold feet because of the gay thing, right?
Yeah.
Well,
sponsors, USA Network, the whole 9 yards.
Here's one mystery for the ages, Vince Russo, that I now know the answer to from working with you. Why didn't GTV have a payoff? I thought it was pure gold, but it just disappeared.
Yeah, because I wrote that for Tom Green. And when I got ready to pitch Tom Green was the hottest thing at the time. At MTV, bro, the Tom Green show. Bro, this is before Jackass. This is before any of that shit. And I created that for Tom Green because I knew we were doing business with MTV and I knew we could get him. And when I had to pitch that to Vince, he had no idea who Tom Green was. And he didn't bite.
But so then why was it dropped instead of, did they?
I don't think it was dropped. It became Goldust TV because that's the only place we can go with it.
So you basically built up a situation where if Vince said no to Tom Green, the shit's done. But you
yeah, bro, that happened a couple of times with Vince where it was really pop cultural, hot, red, white, hot at the time. And Vince didn't have a clue, and it just went down the train. The Blonde Bitch Project. Vince just killed that. He had no idea, just no idea. Can you imagine? He didn't know back then. Can you imagine today?
We have Zach Ward on Facebook. Did you have any creative plans on the back burner? Oh, this was already asked. Sorry, patrons. That's gonna be gone. That's gonna be gone. Sorry. Would you? This is from Chris Morris. Now, there's also from Matt Kuhn, Vince. Would Vince be interested in doing a one-night show WrestleMania weekend in New York somewhere?
I don't think so. Matt, can I tell you something?
You are not leaving your house.
The only reason I would do it is because of you. Seriously.
Well, I appreciate that.
If you really wanted to do it and it was going to make, you some money, that's the only reason I would do it. I'm being honest with you, bro, because I don't enjoy being around it. I don't want to be around it. But
well, thank you, Vince. And maybe that's something we can talk about. I'll just, man, my cars really need some repairs. I'm just thinking about that, so I'm distracted. I apologize. From Matthew Toy, one of the biggest, if not biggest, complaint about the Attitude Era was the match quality. God damn it. I know the answer. Or lack thereof. Was it de-emphasized consciously for promos and angles, or was that purely happenstance, Vince?
The match quality or the match time? Two different things, bro. What's two different things? You know what I mean?
I think it's synonymous to him. He wants to see good matches, because he goes match quality or lack thereof. So did you really care about matches and how good they were, and was the time de-emphasized for promos and angles?
Yeah, Matt, let me tell you something. If we weren't head to head, it may have been a totally different product. I can't tell you the kind of product it would have been if we were not head to head. I could tell you it would not be the product you see today. That I could tell you, but it would be different. It would definitely be different if we weren't head to head.
Brad Gamble asked something similar, but I saw Peter Bahi. He's someone you know, right?
Yeah.
And he asked this question, which I thought was a brilliant question. You've talked about your religion a lot. I am going to say this to the people out there, a couple in particular who go, Vince Russo is this God thing or this religion thing. Vince Russo with this, I'm not saying just this thing, but this particular subject is the same guy behind the scenes as you, the front of the scenes. Your religion, God, being a good person is very important to you. It's most of what we talk about. So if you want to doubt that, I will attack you. So Peter Pahi asked, would the Attitude Era have existed if Russo got saved prior to 96?
Yeah, it would have. It would have existed. There are definitely some things I wouldn't have done.
Any in particular you can think of?
The symbol. I would not have done that. I definitely, without a shadow of a doubt, would not have done that.
Is that something you think about? Like you regret that kind of thing?
No, because I wasn't saved. You know what I mean? So I didn't know any better. I really didn't know any better. And I look back now and I'm like, no, bro, I would not do that today. But back then, I didn't know any better,
Here's a great question, considering what you said earlier. Also, you're someone who's been known to give everything in the ring, get beat up, look foolish, all those kind of things for your product. If you were booking in WWE today, and not that you would, and Vince McMahon wanted to bring one of your kids in, how would you book them? Would you let them anywhere near the business?
No, hell no, absolutely not. No way, no way. He couldn't give me. Seriously, bro. If he said he'd give me $1 million, I'd say thanks, but no thanks. No way, bro.
And that was Eric Campbell on our Facebook page. We have a few questions from Twitter as well. I wanted to kind of address a couple questions I had. So one question I had, and there's a couple things we may have talked about beforehand, and a couple things maybe we haven't. I'm not trying to ambush you here because here's something I forgot to bring up because I am ADD. So do you remember the cigar aficionado thing where you remembered it differently? And it was something that was completely easy to disprove. So it's not like Vince Russo's trying to lie because anybody could look it up, right?
Right.
So there was a show we did where you talked about the interview that Vince McMahon did with Costas on HBO.
Right.
You weren't with the WWF at the time.
When was it?
It was in like 2001.
No, he did something before that, bro. Then that wasn't the first one. I guarantee you, Matt, that was not the first one.
I've gotten emails and DMs and tweets about Vince Russo's a liar because that's what he said.
Matt, I'm telling you, bro. Right, no, I think there may have been another one. I really do, or I could be wrong.
But the one that he flipped out on Costas, you weren't actually in the WWF then. Does that surprise you when I say that?
Yes.
It's crazy when you think about memory. Do you ever get to the point where you think maybe instead of maybe somebody being wrong, somebody being right, people just remember things differently?
No, bro. I told you that whole thing with Shamrock taking down freaking Big Show. Remember I told you that?
Right.
Like, I didn't know if it was true or something I dreamed up, or like, did I really see this? And like, I was waiting like freaking 10 years to see Ken and say, bro, did this happen, or did this just kind of grow in my mind over all the years? And he confirmed that it happened exactly the way I thought it did.
So that was one question. So, people out there you go. Here's another one. So there's a lot that's been said about this WCW racial discrimination lawsuit. You know the lawsuit I'm talking about, right?
Right. Were
you deposed?
Bro, that's another thing. I don't remember ever being deposed. Your good friend Bickenspan.
Yeah, he says you were.
He says I was. Bro, I do not remember being deposed at all. Now, bro, I can remember when I went through my defamation of character with Hogan. I remember those depositions. And, bro, I remember those depositions because his freaking attorney was ruthless. Freaking ruthless. I remember that. I do not remember being deposed at WCW. I don't remember that at all, bro.
Well, I believe, according to Bixen Span, you were. He told me that as well. He just doesn't have it, but says that the records are there. But I believe you that you don't remember that because, I mean, why would you? So was WCW, when you were there at all, did you feel it was a racially slanted, insensitive, biased, prejudiced, racist system.
Bro, everything that was going on with that lawsuit was coming out of the power plant, and I believe a lot of that happened before I was even there. Like, what was the main dude's name?
Hard Work Bobby Walker.
Yeah, I didn't know him. Like, I did not know him. Maybe I met him at one time, but I definitely did not know that guy. There was no creative talk around that guy. So, I'm assuming a lot of that happened. I'm not talking about the lawsuit. I'm talking about when this stuff happened.
Sure.
I'm thinking of a lot of it might have happened before I even got there. I don't know. I don't know, but I did not know him.
But while you're there, you didn't see any, okay, so you're around booking guys. Okay, so let's say it's not Vince Russo. There's other guys around. Did you hear racial things? Did you hear?
Not at all. Not at all.
Bro,
I never saw anything race related in any company I worked for. I never did, bro. Discrimination against women, absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt. In the WWE, absolutely. Race, never at any company I worked for did I ever see any of that. Never.
So you wouldn't say Terry Taylor was someone who was racist at all?
No, I wouldn't. No.
Who's Johnny Boone? Who is that? I don't know who that is.
Johnny Boone was he was just a referee, bro. I think he may have had some substance issues. I know he had some kind of a issue with Terry Taylor where I think, Johnny Boone, was his name Johnny Boone?
I believe so. I don't know.
Yeah. Is it Johnny Boone? I don't know. But
yeah,
I think he had a girlfriend and she wound up going out with Terry Taylor. I think there were some issues there. I did not know him just outside of him just being a referee.
And he's one of the guys who did a deposition, which is why I bring it up, which I thought was strange because reading through the papers, he said he worked for the company for years. I don't know him. I know.
No, I knew of him. I definitely knew of him.
He stated that when Terry Taylor stated that African Americans were not as good workers as the white wrestlers, Vince Russo agreed and said, quote, "They're not as good workers."
See, so much of this stuff, man, is it's all logic. Why would I say that and put the belt on? Now, was he talking about African Americans or minorities in general?
Minorities. And I don't really see you saying the word worker. You're describing someone as a wrestler. They're not as good workers.
No, that's not my thing. And bro, we can go back and look at how many minorities I put belts on. I don't care what you are, bro. If you're drawing a number and you're drawing ratings and you're helping me be successful at my job, I don't care what you are, bro.
I got to be honest, Vince. One of the reasons I get so kind of cranky with you, I have a hard time sleeping a lot of time, falling asleep or staying asleep. I wake up in the morning stiff and with pain in my neck and my back. I get hot and sweaty, but I think maybe I just need a different mattress. And you're saying that you have the solution.
This purple mattress, bro, I am telling you, I don't even know what's in this thing. The comfort, the coolness, the sweet dreams, brother.
The quality of my sleep kind of affects the quality of my life. And if I don't have a good night's sleep, I do not have a good day. But you're saying that the purple mattress gives you better sleep and a better you.
Matt, it's hard to explain, and I'll tell you why. Because it's both firm, it's both soft.
You too can be less like me and more like Vince and get a purple mattress because it will probably feel different than anything you've ever experienced. It's very unique because, like Vince said, it's firm and soft at the same time, so it keeps everything supported while still feeling very comfortable. Plus, it's breathable, so it sleeps cool. And you get a 100-night risk-free trial. If you're not fully satisfied, you can return your mattress for a full refund.
Bro, after 100 nights, they're going to have to be prying you off that thing, Matt. 10-year warranty. 10? Who does that? 10-year warranty.
free shipping, and free returns. It's got free in-home setup and old mattress removal.
Matt, they got to get you off the mattress before they return it.
I tell you, I need the Purple Mattress, and you are going to love Purple Mattress. And right now, for listeners of Vince Russo's Truth with Consequences, listeners will get a free purple pillow with the purchase of a mattress. So in addition to the free great gifts that Purple is offering statewide, all you have to do, this must be a rib, is text BRO. Text BRO.
Easy to remember. Bro, 3 letters. Bro, go ahead.
To 474747. So you text the number 474747. You text the word bro. That's the only way to get this free pillow is to text bro to 474747. That's bro, B-R-O, to 474747. Message and data rates may apply.
Wait till you get it. You're going to be thanking me again.
The fact that you did put the title on Booker T is brought up in the lawsuit, and it said that you are aware of the lawsuit and that you think that putting, and you and maybe Terry Taylor decided that you putting the title on Booker would help with all of that.
First of all, what do I care? I could give a shit if WCW was taken for $100 million. That does not affect me any way, shape, or form. What fair. Do I care? Bro, let's face it. At the time, I hated working there anyway. So you think I'm going to be doing something like that to help WCW? WCW could scratch my ass at that point. But bro, you can. There were many people in the room that day, and Glenn has said this on the record, but I was in the room that day. Ed Ferrara was in the room. Glenn Gilberti was in the room. Bill Banks was in the room. Jeremy Borash was in the room. Terry Taylor was in the room. That's 6 people who can confirm that story. And I went into a booking meeting one day and I said, guys, if right now you could put the title on anybody in the company, who would it be? We went around the table unanimously. Every single person said Booker T. And I sat there and I said, well, if we're all agreeing to this unanimously, why isn't Booker T the champion? And that was the meeting before Bash at the Beach. And like I said, bro, I'm getting paid based on ratings. Do you think I give a shit what your race or sex or creed or sexual orientation? Bro, if you're bringing in numbers, you're going to be on the show.
All right, let's go to Twitter. We got some good questions on Twitter. And I'm going to do one first. That's a little, because this is heavy as shit. So we're going to go ahead and do one. And I'll look up the name of the guy who asked the question. It's a fantastic question. Who had the best Beatles solo career after the Beatles broke up?
Oh, wow. Who asked that question?
I'll get the name in a second. It's a great
Can
question.
Me and you debate this?
We have not debated this, I think.
But can we?
We can. It is Ash Taylor at #213.
Okay, so what specifically did he ask? Successful or like what specifically?
And see, we're in trouble here. He said best.
Okay, so we're not talking dollars and cents.
We're not talking money. We're not talking drawing money. We're talking whose music do you enjoy the most? And I would say it counts to have like more good songs, not just, like, you take the 10 best good songs or the 20 best good songs, or the 50 best good songs, and you say, which ones has the better quality? None were even close to the Beatles ratio of good quality.
Bro, I got to tell you, and I think this is going to surprise you a little bit.
Please don't say Ringo.
I think it might have been George.
with the, I mean, I don't know. Like the Wilburys stuff's good.
Well, I think it's all good, bro. I mean, who had a better solo album than All Things Must Pass? What solo album was better than that?
I mean, it's 3 albums, but like most of it's filler, though, isn't it? I mean, you think it's three great albums?
Bro, listen, as much as I love Paul McCartney, bro, it was so bubblegummy, poppy. I mean, bro, for every great song he had 3 bubblegum poppy songs.
I would agree 1,000%.
Yeah, silly love songs and, Junior's Farm and like, what the frig? But then he's got, Maybe I'm Amazed and, he's got great songs.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah. But everything, a lot of popcorn. Freaking, bro, I got to tell you, I tell the people this all the time, bro. To me, saying Yoko Ono broke up the Beatles is like saying Vince Russo killed WCW. Okay? And I'll tell you why. Bro, I've seen every John Lennon documentary there is to see. Okay? Nobody knows more about John Lennon than I do.
The man made choices.
Bro, the man loved that woman to no freaking end. Bro, John Lennon freaking was obsessed almost with Yoko Ono. He loved that woman. So the bottom line is when he's bringing her down to, Apple Studios and he's bringing her while they're recording albums, I mean, that's him. He was, at one point, they were inseparable. You can't put that on freaking her.
They were in a bed in the studio.
Thank you. Arguing with people.
Well, she said something once, and then she was gone the next day. That was it. Like, she sat there, and one day she said, yeah, I agree with John on this one, and then the next day she's gone.
But even with that being said, bro, when you brought her in to perform on those albums, I'm sorry, bro. Like, with all due respect, bro, you lost me. You lost me.
Man, how terrible she is. I mean, she's terrible, right? Like, just god awful, terrible, just awful. Man, he loved her so much, right?
Loved her, bro. Loved her. Bro, did you hear Stern played her last album on the air? And did you hear that bit?
Oh, I did actually. I did.
Oh, bro, I felt bad for her. He was ruthless.
Stern also used to play the isolated backup vocals from Linda McCartney on Let It Be.
I never heard that. I got to hear that, bro.
It's like, he's going, so anytime you feel the pain, and she starts doing, like down. Oh, it's the worst thing you've ever heard, ever. For me, though, I'll go with John Lennon, because for me, when you talk about special songs, like songs, and it's very personal, right? So like when I think of something like Woman, or I think of something like Imagine, or Jealous Guy, or I think of, Mother, which I think is a freaking amazing song, but I think it's very personal. But I think John Lennon had some very special moments. I think McCartney had Maybe I'm Amazed, and the Beatles had a policy with George Harrison, 2 songs per album, and then my feeling is that after All Things Must Pass, Beatles may have had that right. Like 2 songs per album was about right, but for me, Lennon wins it because he just had so many special songs. Did you like the John Lennon solo career at all?
Yeah, no, I did, bro. Bro, I've got every group album, every solo album. I've got them all. But bro, there was just in so many of his songs, there was just such a level of depression. You know what I mean, bro? And like as a guy that suffers from depression, I try to stay away from that. Bro, this guy on Twitter, who was it? Reverend Smiley.
Yeah, I'm familiar with Mr. Smiley, with Reverend Smiley.
Reverend tells me I've got to see this Springsteen on Broadway on Netflix. Did you watch this thing?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
I wanted to kill myself.
I would too.
I wanted to kill myself. Bro, it is so freaking depressing. The songs about his mom and his dad and his upbringing and like, see, that's the thing. Because I deal a lot with depression, I tend to stay away from that shit. A lot of Lennon's music is depressing. A lot of it.
It's honest as shit, It's like
it is, but it's depressing.
When he says, "Mother, you had me, but I never had you." I just think that's like,
yeah.
Father, I wanted you, but you never wanted me. And for me, that's something that hits me. Like I'm just like, oh, I get it, But for me, I like the sad songs because I think music's powerful that way. But I can understand wanting to avoid those kind of things. Well, that's our music segment for today. Hey, Ben Bell on Twitter, our Twitter page @RussoCoonTWC asked, I heard Vince say that Warrior, I think he's talking about you, say Warrior was a smart guy. As a huge Warrior fan, I'd love to hear any stories of your interactions.
Bro, we were tight. Believe it or not, we were tight, bro. And this was a guy that dressed alone. This was a guy that had no interaction with the other boys. Nobody liked him. And, bro, here's why they didn't like him. Nobody was at his level. They didn't understand him. They thought the guy was a whack job. No, bro, he wasn't a whack job. He was a genius. And when you knew him and you spoke to him, you knew this guy nobody was on this guy's level. The reason why I say that too, Matt, is early on, he was working on a lot of writings. And he would give them to me to get my feedback. Bro, like, the shit blew me away. This was a very, very intellectual guy, very misunderstood guy, a loner, kept to himself. And I was so lucky, bro, to really have a relationship with him that I really, really, really cherished, bro. But this guy was on a level by himself.
What do you make of the controversy regarding him and statements that he's made, hateful ones about, homosexuals and Bobby Heenan and kind of stuff like that? Do you think when you say things, like he said, that, how big of an impact should that have on kind of the memories of him?
Man, I got to tell you, man, I don't even know those things. I mean, when you just reel those off, I was hearing those for the first time. I don't know about any of those things. I'm just being honest with you.
It's not something you're aware of. You had no idea.
The first time I'm hearing it. I'm even curious. Like, what do you say about Bobby Heenan?
Oh God, dude.
This is the first time I'm hearing any of this.
Let me just say this, dude. As for you, Bobby Heenan, it's just, and this is when he was dying, or he had been diagnosed with throat cancer, and we all remember physically the toll it took on Bobby the Brain. As for you, Bobby Heenan, it's just too difficult to keep a straight face talking about the pure two-faced bag of shit you are and have always been. What with you also actually wearing one as a piece of body jewelry, which is a piece of shit because he's saying colostomy bag. You are dying, diseased on the inside, and no more time is left to get back any of the integrity that matters the most on death's bed. Imagine what it will be like lying there taking in your last breaths, knowing you hoard yourself out your whole life and had to in your final years be faced with emptying your own personal shit bag, affirming to you the true value of what you achieved in your life. Mm-hmm. Not even Vince could come up with a better finish than this. Karma is just a beautiful thing to behold. That's the most hateful shit I've ever heard.
Yeah, that's horrible, bro. That is horrible.
See, that's the thing, man. That's where you don't want to go. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, no, I know, bro.
I mean, he heard that shit for so long. That's where it drags you, man.
Yeah. And I didn't know about any of that stuff, bro. I'm just telling you about my working relationship with him and how I knew him.
Sure.
Like that stuff actually surprises me, because when I tell you, bro, about his writings that he would pass on to me, it was not that. It was always the empowerment. It was always the warrior from within. It was that stuff that was really, really important to him, the motivational stuff. That's the stuff that he shared with me.
Jim Broderick on at BSJim837 on Twitter. Who created the New Blood versus the Millionaires Club, and what was the reason behind it? I don't think we've gotten into that on the show. We've gotten into it on some Patreon stuff.
That was really a collaboration between me and Eric. I mean, we worked on that together before we restarted WCW. And I mean, it was real. There was a lot going on at the time. Remember Kidman and Hulk Hogan and all that stuff. And the young guys at WCW felt they weren't given an opportunity because they were being cockblocked by the legend. So it was an angle storyline that was really based on reality, but we both worked on that at the beginning.
But I mean, if you think about it, that shit was a shoot, right? If you're saying Millionaires Club versus New Blood.
Yep.
You're just saying it. This is a good question. Jason A at 1983 Jason on Twitter says, would love to know what a weekend looks like for you from Friday to Sunday night when you're not working.
Now or then?
I would love to know what a weekend looks like for you. How about now?
I work on the weekends. So there is no Friday through Sunday. It's Sunday right now, bro. I think. Is today Sunday? Is it Sunday?
It's Monday now. Well, it depends where you are. Monday here, Sunday there. Did you but you try to save a little time to spend some time with the wife on the weekend? Or
I will try not to get on my phone over the weekend. I will try. See, it's tough, bro, because, Sunday I really promote Truth with Consequences heavy. You know what I'm saying, bro? And I don't like that because I try to do as little as I can on the weekend. But Sunday we got to promote the show, and I'm always on the computer promoting it. But I try to keep those two to my wife those days.
And Andy Grusett at ADGE Grucott, Groecott. If you left WWF because of extra work from SmackDown, what's the difference between you having to go and do Nitro and Thunder? Were they different entities? Was it the same workload? If it was such a tipping point for you on SmackDown, second show, you're going to a place with a second show.
Well, that wasn't the tipping point. I mean, I've made that clear. That wasn't the tipping point. The tipping point is what he said about my kids. The difference was I did not have to be at every Nitro and Thunder. That was the deal that I made with WCW. I did not have to be at them all. If I felt I was being burned out, if I needed a break, if I didn't want to go, I did not have to go. Ed would run things at that point. So, bro, I would have probably never missed one because of the way I am. But knowing in my mind that I could if I wanted to, that made a big difference.
We will definitely do a show on parts of this question, but we said ask Vince anything, and this is one of those things. This is a very interactive Twitter follower of the show and myself and yourself, Redskins fans 316 at Redskin Suck 1 SUK. What was it like in the aftermath backstage after Owen passed during No Way Out, and with all the heat on WWE and knowing that Owen didn't want to do the stunt in the first place?
Well, bro, who said Owen didn't want to do the stunt in the first place? I mean, I could tell you that never came back to me. Vince, I don't know if he said it to anybody else. Nobody ever told me Owen didn't want to do this stunt. As a matter of fact, I saw Owen right after he practiced the stunt that day. He had already done it. He was in the jumpsuit the whole 9 yards. We talked about how everything went. He said everything went great, no problem. He just asked me if I could flip the two entrances, which we did. But, bro, I never, ever heard Owen did not want to do the stunt. Keep in mind he had done it once before.
Did you talk to him about the stunt personally at all? Did you ever talk to Owen about, have any conversations about the fact that he was now doing this thing coming down with the wire?
God, I don't know, Matt. I don't know who told him. I don't remember. I honestly don't remember.
But to say that he didn't want to do it in the first place, like you said, who's saying this? Let me tell you, it's kind of what people say. People say, when I say people, I mean the writers. They say it and they believe it and they state it and they put it out there that Owen did not want to do it. He felt pressured to do it because he had just turned down a storyline with Deborah where Deborah he was going to cheat on his wife or something, and he didn't want to do that on screen, so he felt pressured into accepting this next thing. Are you aware of any of that?
Here's the thing, Matt. Let me tell you this. First of all, Owen was never going to have an affair on it. Owen was going to have a crush on Deborah. And the reason we wanted to do that was for comedic reasons. Owen having a crush on Deborah would be funny. Just because of Owen. If you knew Owen, it would be funny. That was the whole idea behind it.
That would be funny. Owen was funny.
Yeah. Owen was concerned with his wife. He let me know that. He let me know. He had the conversation with me. And because I loved Owen so much and I had such a respect for him, I said, Owen, no problem. We'll come up with something else. There wasn't even a discussion. Period. End of story.
It was.
We'll come up with something else.
So you remember that discussion?
Yes, absolutely.
There wasn't a part of you that was like, oh man, I put so much thought into this, man. Give it a chance.
because I didn't put that much thought. No, because it wasn't one of these, oh, we got to do this. Like, when I wanted Austin to drive in the beer truck, and Austin wanted to just drive in a regular truck. And I was like, no, bro, you've got to drive in the beer. Like, that mattered. This didn't matter. The story didn't matter. Do you know how that Owen thing came about?
With the, you mean how he got to be using the
Yes.
wire and everything? I've heard different stories.
Here's the story. The show was written, Matt. That was not in the show. For Owen to ascend, is it ascend or descend? Descend?
Descend.
Descend has come down, ascend is to go up?
Yep.
Edit that out so I don't look stupid. No, you keep it. That was never written in the show. Okay, bro? So this had to be like maybe the Thursday night before the show. Okay? I'm in my office. It's late, bro. Nobody's around. I remember I got all the lights shut in my office. I just had my little desk light on. Okay, that's how I worked. Okay? I get a call by a guy named Steve Taylor. Steve Taylor was with Vince McMahon forever. He was a building operations guy. Okay? Steve Taylor called me and said, Vince, the guys who descend Sting from WCW, they want to come to our show in Kansas City. Do you have anything like in the show where they can show us what they can do? Okay? So when I had the show right in front of me, I was working on the show. So I'm going down the show, I'm looking down the show, and I see Blue Blazer. So I said, Steve, Owen's going to play the part of the Blue Blazer on the show. If they descend Owen like they descend Sting, I said, that could be pretty cool for Owen. That could be pretty good for his character. I said, so yeah, I guess we could do that with Owen.
But he'd done it before though, right?
He had done it before, yeah. Yeah, but I think it, bro, I think it was a little different, bro, because when he did it before, the idea was for him to kind of be dropped like on a wire slowly, because remember he got stuck,
right.
And then Steve Blackman. So it was like that was like a totally different. You know what I'm saying? That was totally different. So that's how it got written into the show, bro. So it was never written in originally, and bro, that's why I'm saying, if Owen would have said, I feel it was no big deal. Like it was kind of an afterthought. We just wouldn't have done it. It was not pertinent or important to the show. Now, if Owen felt that way, that shoot, I told him I just didn't want to do Deborah. I don't want to come across as difficult, bro. That's quite possible. But I can tell you, if he would have said that to me, it would have been no big deal.
Would Vince ever be at a place with a talent where he would say, "Oh, this guy doesn't want to play ball. Let's bury him"?
I never saw that, bro. I personally, I never saw that. Never saw that.
Do you think it's possible Owen felt that way though?
Matt, I got to tell you something. I think that's a wrestler thing, bro. I can tell you that didn't exist when I was there. Maybe shit like that exists with the Prichards and the Bischoffs, and the Vinces, the old school people. Bro, shit like that did not exist when we wrote the show. Bro, I know. I can look at the WWE right now. I know people are being punished for shit. I could tell in the booking. You don't have a group like AOP on top one week and then they're buried. Something happened. They pissed somebody off. They said the wrong thing. You could see it. You could see it a mile away.
When did you ever see that? Did you ever see that in person?
Bro, that's what I'm telling you. When we wrote, that did not happen, because I would call bullshit on it with Vince. And because it was, with me, it was always about what's best for the show. We're not going to flex our muscles and make an example out of somebody and let it affect the show. I would never let that happen. So I could tell you, bro, when I was writing, that was non-existent. I think that's what wrestlers truly believe. Oh, if we speak up, we're going to lose our spot, or they're going to send us home, or yada, 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 yada. And I'll be honest with you, I think a lot of them use it as a crutch because they're just afraid to speak up.
There's the court documents that come out say that Vince McMahon, of course, you guys got the idea from Sting, WCW. Vince McMahon wasn't happy with like how it took Sting a while to get out. He had to do the strap and everything, and he requested a quick release on there, or that's at least what the company said, that Vince requested a quick release. Were you aware of any of those kind of decisions being made?
I wasn't aware of any of that. No, I had nothing to do with any of that.
So the question was, what was it like afterwards? Where were you?
It was like time had just frozen, bro. Like it's very difficult to put into words. It's surreal. It's everything stops. Like this isn't really happening, bro. That's why a lot of times Vince gets ridiculed for the show going on, bro. Nobody knows how to act in a situation like that. You don't know how to act. You're trying to, you're just trying to, register like what happened, and you can't comprehend it. It's so out of the realm of like, this really happened. And that's why I never fault Vince for letting the show continue. Nobody was thinking rationally backstage.
Well, you don't know what to do until it happens, like that had never happened before. So when you look back at it, well, you should have canceled the show.
Now I do remember that. See, sometimes like I think of like, see, like, so I get afraid to say things. Because I'm like, oh, okay, bro, so is Bruce going to say that was bullshit? Is somebody going to say that was bullshit? I remember the next day, Matt. Okay? I remember this vividly. You know how I cry a lot? This was another Vince Russo crying scene. And Bruce Prichard was not present. Matt, the next day, they wanted to just have another show and not address the Owen situation at all. Okay, they wanted to kind of sweep it under the rug because they didn't know how to deal with it.
Who's they besides Vince?
Kevin Dunn. Okay? So I catch wind of this.
What was Vince's attitude, though? Was he like sad? Was he devastated? Was he detached?
What do you mean by detached?
Like, was he detached?
He was not selling.
Right. Was he himself?
No. But he was not selling because he had to keep it together.
Right. But, it wasn't like he was trying to pretend like it didn't happen.
No. I'm telling you, they just didn't know how to deal with it. They didn't know how to deal with it. And I remember I went in there and I said, and I broke down. And I said, bro, if you guys run this show like a normal show and there isn't some kind of a tribute to Owen, I'm going home. I'm going home. I'm getting on a plane and I'm going home. There is no way we can have a regular show tonight like nothing happened. There is no way. And I just left. I didn't stay and become part of the conversation. I just spoke my piece and I left, and then they came up with what the show was.
And then was your job to write out the show?
Was the show all tributes? I don't remember. I never watched it back, man.
Yeah, it was a lot of tributes and, Stone Cold.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly did not write any of that at all. No.
So we're going to talk about that a lot more on a future episode, but there's so many questions about that. So let's close out with a little fun note, maybe an argument. Will Vince Russo ever make an appearance with the WWE again? Like, maybe on WWE Network, maybe providing something there, or maybe get back into wrestling with somewhere like MLW. Is there any chance at all that Vince would ever come back?
No. I have zero desire, bro. Zero desire. And a lot of it is because of what still happens in my daily life. This is the wrestling business, bro. And these are the people involved in the wrestling business. 7 years after walking away, bro, I'm still dealing with it. There's just no way, bro. All the money in the world could not put me back in that environment. I learned too much. I saw too many people for who they really are. Bro, my years are getting limited on this earth. I do not want to spend them in the wrestling business.
That's your biggest wish, right?
What?
To be able to not be in the wrestling business.
Yes, exactly.
Well, it's been a great show, Vince. One might argue our weirdest and best show ever. Of course, check us out at Russo-kun TWC on Twitter. You can listen to all our shows at Westwood One, or just go to RussoKunTWC.com. YouTube is just RussoKun.com. And of course, your days are, maybe you have like 2 left, 1 left to get a free month at the Realm Network, Vince.
Yeah, bro. Actually, so when will this show air? This show airs on...
Well, for our Patreons, it'll air very soon, but it will air on the Sunday, which is, I believe, is the 29th.
Yeah, you will have till the 31st, bro. You guys got till the 31st. Claim your free month to the brand if you've never been a member. No strings attached, no gimmicks, no long-term commitments. You can opt out after the month. Just go to russosbrand.com. It was our gift to you.
And don't forget, everybody, we are going to be moving to Tuesday, so no show next Sunday. Wait 2 days for the following Tuesday. Vince, we got to plan a really great show for our first Tuesday on January 8th.
Oh, yeah, we got a little time, bro. We're getting this one in the can a little earlier, bro, so we have some time. I guarantee, bro, we'll come up with something that'll knock their socks off.
So this is where the show would normally end, right? That's the end of the show. But earlier, before we even start on the Q&A, we got on the subject of Bruce Prichard. And you could hear Vince is upset about it. And then kind of when I tell him what the actual story was that I heard on their podcast, he kind of chills and gets more upset. Vince has a lot to say about this subject, so check it out. For a bonus episode in our episode, Vince reacts to Bruce Prichard calling, quote, BS, unquote, on Vince and other things. That segues into what I think maybe you might be really talking about, is that I think you got word, and we've talked about this a little bit, but not the details, but I think you got word that Bruce Prichard again spoke up and said some things about maybe coming up with the Rock thing or not coming up with the Rock thing. What is your response to that? Actually, how did that affect you when you heard that?
Call it what it is. Not you coming up with the Rock thing, not coming up with the Rock thing. Bruce says I'm lying about that. Okay, now let's look at that situation for a minute.
He called it bullshit.
Okay, bullshit. Okay, let's really look at that situation for a minute and let's break it down. See, logical people. This is how I look at Stern. When I hear Stuttering John make a statement about Stern, I will sit there, I will examine it, I will break it down. And that's how I will determine, okay, it's either bullshit or it's not. So let's break this down. The first time I heard about this story of JR having the Rock conversation with Bruce, with the Rock, the first time I heard about it was on my own show. And Bruce told me about it. And right there, you can go back and listen to the show. It's in the archives. I say to Bruce, I said, oh, Bruce, that's really funny. I never heard that story before. I don't doubt that story. I wasn't privy to any conversations that JR had with Rock, so I have no reason to doubt that story. I said, but I had the same conversation with Rock right before one of the shows. It was a one-on-one conversation. There was nobody else there. Rock didn't tell me that he was pitched this by JR or Bruce or anybody else. He never told me. I said, but it's funny, bro. I had a similar situation with Rock. So let's stop right there. Bruce is on my show now. Bruce didn't say that was bullshit. Bruce didn't say, Vince, you're a liar. Bruce said none of the above, but when Vince is not there, then Vince is bullshitting and Vince is a liar. Bruce, I said it to you on my show. Why didn't you call me out on my show? Secondly, how could you know a conversation I had with Rock, whether it took place or didn't take place, if you weren't there?
So,
Matt, why do you think I'm not calling bullshit on JR? I'm not calling bullshit on JR for a couple of reasons. Number one, I don't think JR has any reason to lie. Number two, I wasn't there. I wasn't privy to the conversation. And number three, Matt, is it really rocket science when somebody is called Rocky and you suggest he go by The Rock? So is that like this genius idea that nobody, bro, go back and watch freaking Rocky 1, Rocky 2, Rocky 3, Rocky 4. Before Mick dies, Mick refers to Rocky as Rock. It's not Rock. Now, if I would have said, I came up with Austin 3:16, well, bro, that's a little bit more specific. But going from Rocky to Rock, you don't think that two people could have possibly pitched that? And that's the thing that really bothers me. Why can't Bruce say, I don't know the conversation Vince had with Rock. I don't know whether he pitched that to Rock or not. I wasn't there. But to say bullshit, I'm a liar, bro, how would you know the conversation I had with the guy? Meanwhile, Matt, I wrote that in my book that came out, shortly after I left the WWE. Rock could have called bullshit on it. This is before Rock was a movie star, where, you could have a conversation with Rock, or you could call Rock, or you could follow up. I'm going to make something like that up when Rock could have turned around and said, that's total bullshit. Me and Russo never had that conversation. It's ridiculous, bro. It's absolutely ridiculous.
So there's 2 points you're making, and I want to kind of underscore both of them because you made them several times, and I want to make sure people hear them. So the first one is you're saying calling the Rock isn't rocket science, and the subtext of that is, why would you take credit for something that's not like this huge genius move unless it was true? And the second one is, why would Bruce say exclude the possibility that you had a conversation with Rocky about this? To just fill you in a little bit, I heard.
Well, Matt, let me add one more thing before you fill me. I just want to add one more thing, Matt. I have told you the story. The story's in my book. I've said it a million times. I was carrying that name around me for a long time because that's what Don Morocco was called. The Rock, Don the Rock Morocco. And I did not want to disrespect Don Morocco. I did not want to slap him in the face in any way. That's why I was carrying that idea for a long time, but I didn't tell Rock right away because of Morocco. So what that says, Matt, right there is I would have had to make up that part of the story too.
So the story that Bruce tells is the reason he doesn't think there was any conversation. And like Conrad kind of hinted into on a silver platter to leave open the possibility that there was a conversation with you and The Rock. But the way Bruce tells it, he goes, no, bullshit, because Russo called Rock to pitch the idea of him turning heel. And then Russo came back to us and said he's not into it. And then we all did a group call with him a conference call with him. Rocky was on the phone. I think everyone else was in the room, or maybe not. But pitching the whole idea of the Deion Sanders third person, The Rock, the Rocky, and Jim Ross selling him on that turning heel.
Well, there are a couple of holes to that story. Okay, here are the holes, Matt. I do not remember that at all. Now here's the difference between me and Bruce Prichard. I say I do not remember that at all. At all. Bruce Prichard would say Bruce Prichard is full of shit. Bruce Prichard is an effing liar because that never took place. No, I don't say that. I say that's what Bruce said. I don't remember any of that at all. But here's the huge hole. When Bruce says I went back to them, who's them? Bruce was not a writer of the show. Bruce did not work on the show with me and Ed Ferrara. Bruce was involved in talent relations. So why would I have had a conversation with Vince, with Rock, and went back to them? If anyone, I would have went back to Vince. That's who I was working with on the show. I was not working with Bruce Prichard on the show. So that's the difference between me and Bruce. I do not remember that at all. I never knew Deion Sanders referred to himself in the first person till I started hearing it here. I wasn't a huge Deion Sanders fan. I don't know. So, but I'm not going to say Bruce is lying. I'm just going to say I don't remember that conversation at all, and I don't know why in God's name I would be reporting back to Bruce.
Well, we're going to get into that on a future episode. Of course, we are going to do a Bruce Prichard episode at some point, and probably very soon. And speaking of things going on these days, before we get to our topic at hand.
Bro, can I tell you something?
Sure.
That never happened, bro. I wish I could say that happened. Bro, you know how I specifically can tell you when Austin came up to me and pitched Austin 316? I can specifically tell you the one-on-one conversation I had with Rock. It wasn't over the phone. I never pitched him over the phone, becoming a heel. It was at the arena that night that he did it. I remember that conversation like it was yesterday. The Deion Sanders, the reporting back to Bruce, I'm going to say that never happened.
When you hear something like what Bruce Prichard said, you heard it maybe second or third hand, what's the thing that goes on inside of you? Like, the thing that goes
inside of me is, first of all, I know Bruce. And I've thanked Bruce for mentoring me when I started at the WWE. Okay? I also know I got Bruce a job at TNA. Okay, bro? I got Bruce a job at TNA knowing Bruce was going to leapfrog me the minute he got there by working Dixie Carter. I knew all that. But even going through all that, when he was playing politics with me at the WWE, saying that people were saying I was difficult to work with. Okay, even with all that, bro, I will still not come on this show and say Bruce Prichard is a liar. Bruce Prichard is a worker. Bruce Prichard is full of shit. Bruce Prichard is a bad guy. I won't say any of those things because why? Why would I? Does it make Bruce, does it make him feel good that, oh, Russo lied about The Rock? He's just making that up. Because then you got to ask the question of Bruce. Okay, Bruce, why is he making it up? Like, why does Vince say you were the one that decided to put, Rock in the Nation? Austin came up with 316. Rock came up with all his catchphrases. It was Vince McMahon's idea to put Billy and Road Dogg together. Why would Vince give credit to all those other people for all those other things, but yet when he says yeah, I had that conversation with Rock. Oh, he's a liar. Like, why? Just answer the question. Like, why? Why, bro? Why, when I say every freaking $1 million catchphrase The Rock had was his? I did not come up with any of them. Why would I do it? But this one thing, bro, this one thing, you've got to make sure I'm a liar, I'm a bullshitter, I'm this, I'm that, because you remember things a certain way. And bro, let me tell you something, Matt, and I'm going to say this. Bruce Prichard has had a lot more alcohol and a lot more pills over the years than Vince Russo has. The reason why I say that is, bro, what makes you think that your memory is 100% bulletproof? Like, are you serious, Bruce? Are you going to sit there and ignore you haven't drank your share of alcohol? You haven't dabbled in your share of whatever you dabble in? How the hell can you think that your memory is 100% bulletproof, bro? That's insanity.
But I heard you say that before, and I wasn't working with you then. I was working with Bruce, and it sounded like kind of a little bit of a cheap shot. Like,
it's not a cheap shot. It's a fact. Bruce told me how much he used to party. I'm not made. That's a fact.
He doesn't say how can Vince Russo remember anything? He's got a bunch of concussions.
But I'm not calling him a liar. He's calling me a liar, bro. He's calling me a liar. In other words, what he's saying is everything I remember is fact. No, it's not, Bruce. It's not fact. It was a long time ago. You've had a lot to drink over the years. You've told me how much you used to party at one time with Vince McMahon, by the way. Okay? I say, bro, I don't remember. Maybe it happened. Maybe it didn't happen. But I certainly am not going to sit here and call you a freaking liar when, yes, bro, I have had concussions. And my mind is not the same way it was 25 years ago. So therefore, I would not call you a bullshitter and a liar.
And it's funny because with you, it could be a couple months or it could be a month or a week or a day since you've heard something like that. Every time you hear Bruce say something like that in 2018, it still bothers you. It's not something you can shake off.
No, it's not. And they know that too, bro. And they play to that too. They all three of them play to that too.
Agree.
Because they know how I am, bro, and they freaking play to that. And they know, bro. Here's a perfect example. Bruce called me a couple of months ago. Can we be logical here? Let's be logical, Mac. Let's be logical to the audience. Bruce called me a couple of months ago. They got a gig in January 21st out here in Colorado Springs. He said, Vince, would you be a part of this? What did Vince say? Yeah, Bruce, no problem. It's a drive for me. Matt, if I am lying about this situation with The Rock, would I travel an hour and a half to be on Bruce Prichard's show if I was lying about this and I had something to hide? That's not what liars do, bro. When somebody is lying about something, they avoid you like the plague. The last thing I would do is go on Prichard's show with his fans in his backyard and say, no, Bruce, the conversation did take place. The story you're telling, I don't remember any of that. All I remember is the conversation I had one-on-one with The Rock. Would I do that if I was lying about that? I would be running the other way.
Let's touch on that a little bit. You have thin skin and they know it. You're saying that it has to do with the fact you're an outsider. That's why not Cornette. That's why not, Bischoff. You're the one on the outside of the circle. You're easy to get a reaction out of. You've had successes. And I think at the core of some people's dislike of you is the fact that you did get where you were by, replacing people in jobs, and I don't think people got over that. This shit ain't going to stop ever. So what can Vince Russo do?
It will stop, bro, because the day is gonna come when I'm just done with it, and you will never see or hear from me again. People can have a picnic because I won't be here to defend myself. They can say whatever they want. They could paint a picture. Yeah, I was a racist and I was all these things, bro, an anti-Semite. They could have a field day with me. And you know what, bro? When I die and when they die, the numbers of the shows that Ed Ferrara and I wrote are still going to be the highest numbers of all time. And that's what they can't deal with. Every time you have a conversation with them, it's never about facts. It's never about logic. It's about their opinions and their personal attacks. So the day will come when I will walk away from this. People will never hear from me again. They will not know what I'm doing. Nobody will ever be able to get a hold of me, and that will be that.
How is Vince Russo in 2019, how is Vince Russo gonna change maybe how he reacts to these kind of things or feels about these kind of things? Is it possible for you to have a more enlightened view to say, that shit don't bother me?
I'm not going to care what anybody says anymore, bro. I'm not. I don't have any other choice. I'm not. Bruce can knock himself out. Bischoff, they could all have a freaking field day. You know, you're children, bro. You are absolute children. You act like children. You carry yourselves like children. It's freaking embarrassing to me. I don't want any part of it. I don't want to be a part of that world. I can't control what people say or do. And once I turn that corner this year, I literally am not going to give a shit what anybody says anymore.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And it's easier said than done, and I try it too. But a very wise man once told me, what people think is just what they think. So what we put, the kind of weight that we put on that is really what gives it strength or not. So that was Vince's reaction to that. Obviously hurt, passionate, and so we're prepared to move on. Or so I thought. As I start this week's show, once again, the Q&A show. Let's get that Facebook going. And we had people ask questions on there. Ask Vince Russo anything. And Vince is holding his head in his hands.
You know why I'm holding my head in my hands, Matt?
Because you're tired.
Because the thing that always gets me going is all the shit that people say about me. Like, that's what gets me going.
I know.
You understand that's what gets me going. Do I sit here? Don't edit this out.
No.
Do I sit here and try to downgrade the career of Bruce Prichard? Do I ever try to paint a picture of Bruce of being less than what he was ever? Do you not think Bruce Prichard didn't have flaws? Of course he had flaws. We all have freaking flaws. But I don't come on here on my show and point out Bruce's flaws. I come on my show. I thank him for mentoring me, bro. I thank him for having my family at his house. When credit is due, I give it to him. Bro, why wouldn't I take credit for Kane then? If I'm taking credit for The Rock, why wouldn't I take credit? Why wouldn't I say Bruce Prichard had nothing to do with that? Bruce had nothing to do with that. That all came from me. I don't play that shit, bro. So when I say I had a freaking conversation with the guy, I had a conversation with the guy. And it's bullshit, bro. And I get so tired of hearing these freaking people. I could sit here and discredit Bruce Prichard over everything if that's what I chose to do.
But your anger is not just at Bruce right now. This is kind of the collection, the amalgam of people saying this shit to you over the years. Bruce might just be ribbing you. He might just be saying just to say it. He might just be feeling it.
Why didn't Bruce bring up the conversation with Pitch and Rock? And why didn't he bring that up on my show?
Conrad did, because they were talking about the pay-per-view early on in The Rock's career. And so,
why didn't Bruce bring that up on my show when me and him were on the show one-on-one? And I said, Bruce, that's funny. I had a one-on-one conversation with Rock over the same thing. Why didn't he say something then?
Well, I don't know. I'm just spitballing that it's not as personal as you're taking it.
Oh, it's very personal, bro. It's very personal. When somebody calls me a liar, that is freaking personal, bro. Because if that, I am a father and I am a freaking husband, bro. Okay, bro. When you call me a liar, that tarnishes my name and my reputation. That's
the
as
one,
personal
right?
as you get, bro.
When people say Vince Russo's a liar, that's the one. That's the one that hits you.
That's as personal. But nobody can ever answer this. Why is he lying? Why is he lying? What is he lying? Bruce, why am I lying that I had a conversation with The Rock 20 years ago? Why would I possibly lie about that, bro? Why? Why? When the guy could call me out and say, no, I never had a conversation with him. Why would I put that out there, bro, if it never happened and the guy could say that never happened?
So why do you think Bruce said it?
Because I think, bro, it's all those guys. It's Bruce. It's freaking Bischoff. It's freaking Cornette. It's all those guys, bro, in the freaking wrestling bubble that had dreams of being in the wrestling business when they were 3 years old, bro. They were selling programs when they were 10. They were getting Vern Gagne's coffee at freaking 12. That's all they wanted to do. Here comes Vince Russo from CBS Publishing, owning a video store, who gets a job in the wrestling business and freaking outperforms them. Outperforms Bruce. Outperforms Jim Cornette.
And says it.
Outperforms Eric Bischoff. And to this day, those guys can't live with that. To this day. That's the bottom line. Okay, Bruce, before I started writing the Attitude Era, look at the ratings of the WWF when Bruce was writing. Look at what they were when Bruce had the book. Okay, bro, the Attitude Era didn't magically happen. And it had nothing to do with Vince McMahon, because Vince McMahon was there when Bruce and Cornette were writing Mantar. Okay, the same Vince McMahon was there. Okay, Vince McMahon was approving T.L. Hopper and The Goon and all this riveting TV. They can't stand the fact that a guy who owned a video store, a big mouth New Yorker, Italian no less, walked in and out freaking performed them. The numbers still stand to this day, and they can't freaking handle it. So what do, bro? It's a personal attack. It's an attack on my character. I'm this, I'm that. I'm a racist. I'm a sexist. I'm a liar. I'm this, I'm that. No, bro, I was better than you. I was better than you. And you know what, bro? One of these days you will face it. One of these days you will look in the mirror, you will be a man, and you will say, Vince Russo was a better writer than I was. Just like I have no problem saying that. How many times have I said it?
Bruce Prichard was a better producer, right?
Was a better producer than Vince Russo. Eric Bischoff was a better businessman than Vince Russo. Jim Cornette cut a better promo and had more of a creative mind than Vince. Do I have a problem saying any of that? No. You know why, bro? Because I'm an adult. Okay, because I'm an adult. If somebody has a gift that I don't have, I am going to put them over for it, and I am going to tap into that gift. I'm not going to try to discredit them.
All right, so at that point, we had finally moved on. And so we're ready to start the Q&A show. We do the great show. It's a pretty intense show. You know, we talk about a lot of kind of dicey, sensitive issues, but some fun stuff too. And then later on, after a post on Patreon, Vince says to me, hey, I want to add some stuff on. So I think what you can see is kind of this initial reaction where he's angry. And he's really, you can almost hear him talking himself down there. He's had a little time to think. And he doesn't change how he feels, but he worked really hard to find a way to understand it where it wouldn't be as hurtful. And here's what Vince had to say.
I want to try to put, again, some logic to what may have taken place.
Okay.
So I don't know how you're going to edit this in. I don't know how I should And I need to clarify things, and I just there's some things I need to say.
All right, I'll just lead you into it, okay?
Okay. Yes.
So just to clarify, Vince, this is the first time you've ever heard this particular version of the story that I just told you about that Bruce said on the Prichard show.
Well, let's also clarify one thing, Matt. You know, as I stated, Bruce came on my show, okay? And on my show, I told him about the one-on-one conversation I had with Rock. During that show, Bruce never talked about this meeting. This meeting was never discussed. Like, oh, Vince, don't you remember you were part of this meeting, this and this? The only thing, and bro, I'll put the interview back up on the brand. It's probably still up. I mean, Jeff Lane posts everything in YouTube, but all Bruce said to me at that point was that JR pitched it in a conversation about the whole second person and, Deion Sanders and this, that. Never did Bruce say, oh, Vince, you don't remember, you called Rock. He didn't want to turn heel. And then we had a meeting and you were at the meeting. And no, he didn't say any of that. None of that came out of him when he was talking to me. He just said to me that JR had pitched it. Okay. So when I heard that story for the first time, I was like, no, bro, like, wait a minute. I was not a part of that. And I swear to you, Matt, when I tell you, I didn't even know Deion Sanders referred to himself in the third person. I didn't. I mean, when Bruce told me that on our show, I was like, well, okay, but I didn't know it. Bro, here's what I think the problem is. First of all, let me say this. And here's why I want to clarify all this. First of all, let me say this. I think Bruce is flat out wrong when he refers to me as a liar in any way, shape, or form. Okay? And that offends me personally.
So it counts if he says what you say is bullshit. You consider that?
Yeah, bullshit. He's a liar. I mean, bro, Bruce went through my book and literally called me a liar. Bro, I worked on that book for 2 years. With my freaking heart and soul. I cried while I was writing that book. I laughed while I was writing that book. So many emotions. And writing that book was my greatest accomplishment. And for Bruce to say I sat down and wrote a pack of lies, I mean, that's laughable. So I get very offended when I'm called a liar or a bullshitter. Here's number two, and why I want to really clarify this. I would never call Bruce a liar and a bullshitter. I don't believe Bruce lies. I believe Bruce embellishes to make a good story. I believe Bruce will stretch the truth to make a good story. But knowing Bruce for as long as I do, like I said, bro, there was that one incident where he told me about the person in creative services that said I was difficult to work with. And she vehemently said, bro, I never even had a discussion with Bruce. Bro, even over that, Matt, I won't call Bruce a liar because she may have been lying, right?
For sure. And, for you to say that he embellishes stories to make it a good story or be entertaining, I have sat in a hotel lobby at late night with Bruce Prichard where he told a story that was 2/3 true about me and 1/3 not true about me just because it was funny, just because it got laughs out of people.
Yeah, exactly. And, and like I said, even when that woman said, Vince, he lied, I never said that. I even have to take that with a grain of salt because she could have lied. So even something like that, I would not say Bruce lied. But here's what I'm starting to find more and more about over the years, Matt. And here's what I think went down. Matt, I'm starting to find out more and more. There were a lot of conversations on the management level, on the talent level, that Ed Ferrara and myself had no idea about. Whatever meetings Vince had with Bruce and JR, we were not privy to. And, bro, one of the reasons we were not privy to them, and it was a big reason, bro, we weren't on the same floor. So, me and Ed Ferrara are on the second floor. We're working on the television shows around the clock. These guys are up on the fourth floor. And more, like I'm starting to hear and learn. There were conversations with Vince and JR, Vince and Bruce, Vince and JR and Bruce, bro, that I was never privy to. So when Bruce tells this story, he is, having time to think about it after hearing it. This is what I would assume happened, and this is why I really wish Bruce would consider me a friend and not jump to liar, bullshitter, and this, that, and the other thing, which really, 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 really hurts me. Okay? So I want to back this up for a second. First of all, you got to understand, if I'm lying about my conversation with The Rock, the whole story about Don The Rock Morocco, was made up. In other words, I made up a lie on top of a lie because I said I had that name in my head for a long time, but would never talk to The Rock about it because of my respect for Don The Rock Morocco. That would have to be a complete lie. So I would have had to lie and literally make up that story before I even get to the conversation.
Devil's advocate here. Don Morocco was someone I watched. Growing up, he wasn't The Rock for that long where you would think, he would have a proprietary, ownership of The Rock. Did you really take it that seriously? The year or so he was The Rock?
Yeah. Matt, I was a huge Don Morocco mark. Bro, I don't know if you remember Fuji Vice and Fuji Bandito. You remember those?
Oh, I even remember, before that, they used to do these surfing vignettes where they show him surfing, And he also did the Tombstone before. I think he was the first guy I saw do the Tombstone.
And then not being able to get on the movie lot and all that stuff. So Matt, he was right up there for me. So I can't answer that question. I don't know how long he referred to himself as The Rock. All I know is he did. That's all I know. And being that I was such a mark for him, I didn't want to shit. I was really torn for a long time. Okay. Now, here's where I think the confusion is. And this is where I wish Bruce would stop and think for a second before throwing out terms like bullshit and liar. You know the meeting he's talking about, Matt?
I know the meeting, yes, that he says he's talking about.
Let me first say this. First of all, I will say this. The beginning of this, his recollection was us calling Rock on the phone and pitching The Rock, and The Rock didn't want to turn heel. Okay. Now, do I remember that? Absolutely not. Could that have taken place? Yes, it could have.
This was while The Rock was injured.
While he was injured. Yeah, it could have. It very well could have. Do I remember that at all? Not so ever. Okay. If that happened, would I have went to Vince and said, Vince, he's a little hesitant about turning it? Yes, that could have happened. Do I remember any of that happening? No. Here's where I believe the breakdown is. This meeting Bruce is talking about, I don't believe Bruce made this meeting up out of his head. I don't believe Bruce is making up the Deion Sanders JR stuff. I don't believe it. Here's what I do believe. Ed Ferrara and myself were not a part of that meeting. And Ed Ferrara and myself were not a part of this discussion. So what could have happened is, yes, I could have called Rock and he was not comfortable with being a heel. Yes, I could have called Vince and he was not, and told Vince. Yes, Vince could have went to JR because now that kind of becomes a talent relation issue. Yes, JR could have went with Bruce. Bruce was a part of talent relations, with JR, and they could have decided, let's call The Rock. Okay. I was not a part of that conversation. So I think that's where Bruce has, I wish he wouldn't jump the gun, because all Bruce said to me was JR pitched the third person, Deion Sanders. He never said anything to me about a meeting. Vince, don't you remember? Because I would have said right then and there to him, no, Bruce, I don't remember. I'm not doubting the meeting took place, but Ed and I were probably not in that meeting. Now, Matt, the conversation I had with Rock about the third person calling himself with The Rock, that had nothing to do with him turning heel. It was not, oh, he's turning heel and now, go out and try this. It wasn't that at all. It was me sitting back and watching The Rock. And, he was in the Nation at the time, and he was in the background, and he was doing the eyebrow and this, that, and the other thing. So when I pitched that to him, I'm just kind of pitching that as a character trait for The Rock. Whether he's babyface or heel does not come into play. It was just a character. And I said in our conversation, I remember him like pulling his head back and saying, really? Like, bro, he could have heard that before. Maybe this wasn't the first time he was hearing this. But I think the fact of the matter is the meeting that Bruce is talking about, I don't think I was a part of that meeting. And, bro, I wasn't a part of a lot of things that those guys discussed on a talent relation level. I wasn't privy to a lot of things. So do I doubt that meeting took place? No, bro, I don't doubt that it did. But I can tell you I was not a part of it.
So when you heard that story initially, you had a very visceral reaction to it, a very, instinctive reaction to it, where it kind of made you angry because it was something where you just thought someone was calling you a liar. And maybe it was the manner it was delivered. But now in thinking about it, you're thinking that maybe it could have happened, and you're giving Bruce Prichard the benefit of the doubt that he's not really giving you, right?
Yeah, exactly, which is what I don't understand. Bro, I don't want – listen, why would I want to discredit Bruce? I have no reason. Bro, go back and listen to every show we've done and hear where I'm always putting – I mean, my God, bro, he produced the DX. Even with that, bro, let's go back to that DX stuff on the tank. Okay, bro, which I've never said, I've never stated. Bruce produced those vignettes. Okay, bro? I remember him and I going over them. I had to do shit at the building. I didn't go. I wasn't there. But then, bro, Bruce has to take that one step further to say, oh, I didn't even write the shit. And all you have to do is, okay, Bruce, so we showed up at the building and a rocket launcher was waiting for us. Like, bro, somebody wrote that, Bruce. We had to get all the props there. That was a scene that had to be written. So it's like he's always looking for this discredit when I'm giving him credit. I have no reason to discredit him. He produced those. He went on the shoots. But, bro, don't say I didn't write them. That shit had to appear out of somewhere. You don't get a rocket launcher the day of the shoot. Ed and I wrote that in a script, thinking never in a million years would Richie Curtis be able to deliver this. We did it almost as a joke. Then Kevin Dunn called me and said, Vince, we got the rocket launcher. And I'm like, you got to be effing kidding me. But that's what I mean about him. I mean, Bruce, you came up with Kane. I remember sitting at Vince's table and you laying out Kane to me beautifully. Why am I going to discredit anything about that story? You produced the DX vignettes. I have no reason, but that's what it seems like with these guys. When I say these guys, I'm talking Cornette, Bischoff, and Bruce. There's this cross stuck somewhere wherever there is an opportunity to discredit me, they jump all over it. That's a psychological thing, bro. That's way back in your mind. Whether you were hurt of my success or whatever the reason may be, they immediately go to, let's discredit Vince Russo. My mind does not work that way for any of those three guys, especially Bruce, because I did have a relationship with Bruce, and I would like to think that we still have one.
So that's Vince's final word on the subject, except for those of you who follow Twitter or are on Russo's brand, it's not. It's not the end of it, because Vince just gets kind of more upset the more he thinks about it. And it's something that I'm going to talk to him about when we talk. I'm still waiting to hear back from him. I know we're going to record something before the show posts, and I'm going to, tell him how I edited this show. But I'm also going to bring up some concerns I have and some text we've had this week about it, and basically my viewpoint on the whole thing. It's evolved over the week, as it has for Vince. As you can see, it's something he takes very seriously. And coming up, we will get the final word from Vince Russo. So, Vince, it is Saturday night. We are recording. We've seen the evolution of your, first of all, your case against the fact that maybe Bruce Prichard was inaccurate when he called BS on you, but also the beginning of the show you said you wanted peace. Towards the middle of the show you said you really wish you could stop caring about what people think, and then during the course of this week you got kind of more and more upset about it. First of all, before we talk about that, let's talk about a little new evidence as you see that kind of puts the icing on the cake as to why Bruce Prichard, in calling you a liar, is being inaccurate.
So, like, the first comments I heard were about the calling bullshit on, me having a conversation about, suggesting to The Rock, the third person, and call himself The Rock. And, Bruce Prichard, basically saying Russo's full of shit. That was Jim Ross, this, that, and the other thing. So that was the first thing that I took offense to, because the bottom line is, I never doubted Jim Ross having a hand in suggesting this to The Rock, okay? But as I've stated many times, this was not rocket science. Taking a Y off of somebody's last name, 10 people could have came up with. So could two people have pitched Rock the same thing at two different? Absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt. That's why I never questioned the Jim Ross part of it. So what got me a little hot was, well, Bruce, why am I not questioning Jim Ross's part, but not only are you questioning my conversation with The Rock, you're going even further by calling me a liar. Bruce, you weren't there. It was a conversation between two people. So when I can sit here and say, yeah, bro, two people could totally have come up with that same idea without a shadow of a doubt. But, oh no, bro, your POV is Vince Russo is a liar. Bro, you weren't privy to the conversation. You weren't there. You didn't talk to The Rock about the conversation I had with him. So right away, it's Vince Russo's a liar. So that upset me. I don't like being called a liar, bro. Bruce Prichard had no right calling me a liar. I blew my gasket. But see, bro, here's what happens with me. Then God gets in my head. All right, Vince, calm down. Try to rationalize it. Maybe there was a conference call and you weren't a part of whatever. Try to look at the other side of it. So that's exactly what I try to do. I try to look at the other side of it. However, then during the week,
so that was the second clip people heard, was we actually recorded afterwards because you had different thoughts about it and you tried to see the other side. You called me. We recorded a little bit more. People can hear that. And then now today.
Yeah, well, so then during the week, somebody sends me the WrestleZone article. And now it's not just, Vince Russo's lying. Jim Ross came up with this. Bro, now it's a series of events that I was never a part of. And we can go through them quickly. I mean, Bruce saying, listen to how Bruce contradicts himself here. Bruce saying that first he said, I didn't know what to do with The Rock. First of all, let me make one thing perfectly clear. When The Rock came back from injury, I was not head of creative. I was still learning and working my way in. Cornette was involved with creative. Bruce was involved in creative. Of course, Vince. I don't know what JR's role, but Vince was working me in. So I was not in charge of creative when Rock came back from injury. It would have not been my job to find something for The Rock. So Bruce basically says, Vince didn't know what to do with The Rock. And in the next breath, he says, well, Vince had a conversation with The Rock about turning heel, but The Rock didn't want to turn heel. Well, Bruce, you just said I didn't know what to do with The Rock. The next sentence out of your mouth is, I had a conversation with The Rock about turning heel, and he didn't want to do it. First of all, none of that is true. I never said I didn't know what I wanted to do with The Rock. Bruce told me they had decided to put The Rock in the Nation. I told Bruce I didn't see it, but, whatever. I never had a conversation with The Rock about turning heel. That never took place.
Because
that never happened.
You've told me you were not head of creative, right?
I was not head of creative. That's why Bruce told me we're putting him in the Nation. So now the story isn't just one fabrication. Now it's a series of things that just did not happen. So, bro, I get on my computer and I'm like, there's got to be some place where Rock talked about this. There's got to be something. So sure enough, bro, I found a clip of Rock on Oprah Winfrey's show. She used to do this show. I can't remember the name of it. It wasn't her regular talk show. It was, used to highlight a personality. And there's Rock. And Rock says, Vince McMahon called me. And he said to me, we were shoving you down people's throat and they were booing you. So when you come back from your injury, we're going to turn you heel. And Rock said, I thought that was a great idea. There was no Vince Russo called me. There was no Russo tried to talk me into it. I didn't like it. There was no Prichard and Ross then called me and talked me into it. There was none of that. Rock was so matter of fact. Vince McMahon called me, said he was going to turn me heel. I told him I thought that was a great idea. That to me sounds like that's exactly what happened, because I never had a conversation with The Rock. I never pitched him being heel. I never attempted to talk him into any of that. That never existed.
So that being said, what do you think the motivation is, if there is any, or do you think this goes further than people remember things differently? That's a big theme of mine. I talk about a lot is that.
Bro, and Matt, I have no problem with that. I have no problem with that. We do remember things differently. Bro, I've said it. When Chris Jericho came into the WWE, Jericho said that he came to Vince's house for a meeting that me and Ed Ferrara were at. Do you know me and Ed Ferrara were not there? Bro, I don't doubt Jericho for a second. Right. And I hear Jericho's got like an impeccable memory.
But your objection is people not giving you the same benefit that you give them by not saying you're a liar, you're full of shit, you're bullshit.
Exactly, bro. You're going on a memory of 20 years, and on that memory, you're going to call people liars and bullshit and this and that on something that happened 20 years ago. That's not right, bro. When the only time I'll talk about memory is when, like, without a shadow of a doubt, I know that happened. Like my conversation with The Rock, that happened. I know that happened. I can go back in my book 15 years ago. That happened. Bro, when I'm sketchy on something, I'll usually say, you know what, bro, I really don't remember. But to believe that your memory is impeccable 20 years later to the point of you're going to call somebody a liar, about a one-on-one conversation with somebody that you weren't even a part of, that's too far. Bro, I honestly believe this. Let's be honest. Bruce has a very popular show, and I don't think Bruce gives a shit what he says on his show about who. And I think the more controversy Bruce can stir up and the more shit Bruce can talk, the better for him and Conrad. And I really believe that that's the way they look at it. But the bottom line is, bro, you don't freaking hurt people in the process. And you know what, bro? Maybe money for them supersedes hurting people and degrading people and, making people feel like, they're worthless and they're liars and they're full of shit. Maybe money supersedes all that. Money doesn't supersede human beings for me. So we're two totally different people when it comes to that.
Because we could do this whole thing a whole different way, right? I could say, screw them, I worked for them, and you could say screw them, and we could just work this whole thing to try to make a big publicity deal out of it. But the reality is neither one of us really want to do that because we don't want the stress in our lives, and that's not really who we are. You could do that, but you would just much rather have truth in your life than have a controversy creates cash situation.
This is a show about my life. Okay, bro, I'm not here to put myself over. My wrestling career is over. Okay, I've done everything I'm going to do in my wrestling career. For me to sit here and try to put myself over is ridiculous. The whole point of this is, through the brand, I have a following. There are people that have been following my career a long time. They want to know about, the certain stops, TNA, WWE, WCW, my personal life, creating characters, this and that. That's what this show is, bro. I talk to my audience about my experience and the things that I do. Bro, I don't have shows about Eric Bischoff where I bury Eric Bischoff. I don't have shows where I bury Bruce Prichard. I bury Jim Cornette. The only time I talk about those guys is when I have to defend myself because they're slandering my name and they're defaming me. So that's my question, Matt. Why am I always answering their negativity and their lies? Why am I always defending myself? They're not defending what I say about them. I could sit here, I could read you a laundry list about all three of those individuals. Trust me, I can. What for? This show is about me. This show is about Vince Russo, my life, my career. It's not about them. That's why I don't understand why am I the subject of every one of their shows?
I can't answer that except, beyond, of course, a Vince Russo show is a well-downloaded show, and people like to talk about you and talk about what you've done. We talked earlier off the air about, that this isn't really about you being bipolar. I thought it was interesting for people to see your reactions over the course of the week. And before we went on air, of course, you had a different reaction. But everything is all about becoming a good person. Like, that's what I see from you is you're on this kind of journey to be the best person you can be. And in that becomes a point where maybe you just don't worry about what they say. You don't worry about that. You don't say, why do they keep talking about me? Because you're just going to get angry, and then you're going to have to calm down. You're going to rationalize it. You'll feel good about it, put it away. And, I think it's more important just to focus on being a good person for you. And I don't have answers beyond that.
Yeah. Matt, I agree with you 100%, and that I need to get better on. I need to get better, immediately. It's got to be one of my resolutions. But Matt, you got to understand, I'm coming off of a career where many, 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 many times I did not defend myself. And all of a sudden, Matt, somebody says something about me, and now it's folklore. It's the old, well, if Vince didn't comment on it, it's got to be true. Okay, so that's where I'm at, Matt. I tried taking the high road. I tried ignoring it. I tried not saying anything. And all of a sudden, all these things about Vince Russo become folklore. Everybody says whatever they want because they know Vince isn't going to say anything. So I rationally sat down and said, well, that's not working. So, maybe I need to be a bit more aggressive. And I got to be honest with you, Matt. I think being a bit more aggressive has not been healthy for me, but I certainly have gotten better results. We've had stories retracted because now I this is the second story I've totally proven untrue. Mike Johnson, he had to go back and retract. How many years did we hear Vince Russo was the reason Bobby Heenan was no longer in WCW? I had to go back for myself, and I had to see once I left WCW, Bobby Heenan was on for 2 more shows. So that decision to get rid of Heenan was after Vince Russo left. Bro, I had been hearing that story for 10 years. So finally, when I sat down and I said, wait a minute, Mike Johnson had to go back and retract the story. Second case in point now with Bruce. Well, Bruce, actually, according to The Rock, none of that happened, bro. There was no conversation with me. There was no you and him, Jim Ross, talking him into it. There was one conversation with Vince McMahon suggesting it, and Rock saying it's a great idea. So now this is the second time through fact. No, bro, that's not the way it went down. But I got to tell you, bro, I was completely taken back when, brand member said, okay, Bruce, so Conrad, are you going to retract this now? I mean, we just heard it straight from The Rock's mouth. Are you going to take back what you said about Vince? And for Conrad to say, nah, nobody cares. Bro, listen, I like Conrad. I've had good conversations with Conrad. But, bro, if you ask me, that response is about as bush as they come, bro.
Yeah, I can see from your viewpoint why you would think that response sucked, because, Conrad brought it up on the show, that episode, as a callback to what happened on a previous episode. But, at the same
well, hold on, Matt. They were playing off of our last episode, Who Created The Rock. Matt.
I'm not sure you mentioned our episode.
Yeah, that's why he got brought up again, because of our show.
Okay. I'm
sure.
Yeah, I don't think our show was mentioned, but I think.
No, of course, they're not going to put our show over. They might want you to think they want us to be successful. Matt, I know better.
Okay.
But my point is, anybody can go back and listen to that show on Westwood One. Did I bury Bruce at any time?
No, you never said anything negative.
Never.
Bruce, no.
But they had to take that show. Let's discredit Vince again. Well, bro, that backfired on you. Because now, with the help of The Rock and videotape, everybody can see what you said was not true. But to now not come clean, bro, I'm just being honest with you, bro. If I listen to that show from here on in, every single thing Bruce Prichard ever said, I would take with a grain of salt.
Well, it's something that Dave Meltzer said in a previous tweet about, Meltzer's viewpoint is that the show, that Conrad has said that there's a lot of stuff on the show that's entertainment. It's entertainment. And, saying, nah, no one cares, is just, might be perhaps his reaction to something that was intended as kind of an offhand comment, ball busting, let's tease Russo a little bit. And then when it got real, when you got, really legitimately upset about it and reacted to it, maybe he's like, we don't want to go down that negative road. Is that possible?
No, what's possible, bro, is they don't have an answer for that. There's no answer for it, bro. So what do? You ignore it. Whereas if somebody like Jericho, was the one that said to me, Vince, you guys were at the meeting. And I said, Chris, I'm not doubting you for a second. I don't remember it. I don't doubt you but Chris himself called me out. And then I said to Chris, I don't doubt you. I'm sure it took place. I don't remember it. I'm doing the same thing. I'm saying, okay, bro, we just heard it from the man himself. And your answer is to completely ignore when you're wrong. Bro, I don't know how you build up any credibility that way.
So I think you've made your case pretty clearly in that you had a myriad of emotions this week about this. The reason why you cannot just ignore it for real is not because so much they'll keep doing it, but because it becomes part of a folklore and it becomes part of a truth about you that exists out there. And the fact that when you did, in your mind, and according to evidence, refute this story pretty handily, and Bruce and Conrad are in a position to, straighten the record out a little bit and say, maybe, it's not as we remember it. They're not giving you that respect to do it. And, I think, you've laid the case out pretty clear for this entire, who named the Rock / calling Russo a liar / Russo gets upset about things that people say that create a perception of him.
Yeah. Bro, let me tell you something. Like I said, this show is supposed to be about me and my life. If you're tuning into this show to just hear me bury other people and talk about other people and discredit other people and slander other people and not give a shit so I could pile on viewers on top of viewers, bro, you're listening to the wrong show. That's not what this show is. Bro, my entire life, I have never had to tear down other people to build myself up. I built myself up on me, my hard work, my commitment, my integrity, my honesty, my being the best that I could be. I did it the right way. But we live in a world, bro, where people take shortcuts. And in order to build themselves up, they got to discredit and tear down other people. Bro, that's not my style, bro. That's never been my style. Bro, if you're better than me, I'm going to say you're better than me. Matt, how many times on this show have I said Bruce Prichard was a better producer than me?
On this episode already once.
How many times? How many times have I said Eric Bischoff has a business mind that I cannot touch? But these guys if you don't believe there's an agenda, everything is an attack. Everything is a defamation. Everything is slanderous. It's like Vince Russo, bro, never did one good thing in his life. I've said this before, bro. I could save a litter of puppies from a burning inferno, and these guys would figure out a way to bury me in doing that.
I don't disagree. I hope you find in 2019 the piece that you asked for at the beginning of this episode. Of course, this has been Truth with Consequences, a very heavy episode. That was a fun Q&A, and then we talk about the racial discrimination lawsuit, Owen, and some other stuff, and then this whole Prichard thing. I think it's done now. I think you've made your case. This is Truth with Consequences. Of course, we are moving to Tuesdays. This Sunday, a week from today, there will be no show. So there's no show January 6th. Our new show will be on January 8th, which is Tuesday every week after that. Vince, I'm excited about the move. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I feel good about the move. We're going to post real early in the morning on Tuesday. So when you get up for that drive to work, it will be available to you. But also remember, bro, you could hear it, much earlier than that, unedited, man, by just going to our Patreon. Matt has built a tremendous Patreon program. It's for the fan that wants more, bro. I mean, that's what it is. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. That's how we support ourselves. through Patreon. Westwood One, it's great partnering with them, but a lot of income from the show is based on advertising, and they're getting advertising for hundreds of shows. I mean, we really make our bread and butter through Patreon. If you guys want to support us there, please check it out. It's patreon.com/Russo Coon with a KTWC.
What's interesting about the Patreon is that it's unedited. So this week I got a couple different tweets that like, are you going to take that out? Are you going to take this out? And so Patreon members, you're going to find out what that is. And those of you listening to the show, you get the edited version of the show, which is still great. But also, the show's getting released, I believe, on the 30th of 2018, December. And you've got 2 days left to take advantage of your deal over at the Realm Network. And if you get on now, you get for free for a month, no obligation. And you could hear the world's greatest episode of Castrating the Marks that took place this last week.
Matt, that was tremendous. The most talked about episode, I think, ever of Castrating the Marks. It was great having you on there, having that other viewpoint. That's all I've wanted since the show started. That's why I asked these guys to come on, explain yourself to me. Maybe I can understand you a little better. You can understand me a little bit better. It was great having you on the show. You had some really valid points. I think you even made Jeff look at things a little bit differently. And I think, on our side, I think you heard some clips that were a little preposterous yourself. So I think it worked out to do really well.
Absolutely. I got a newfound respect and like of Jeff. Jeff's a guy I know from Twitter and the show. And just, it's one of these things when you see a guy face to face, you're like, oh, I can have a beer with that dude. Like, I like Jeff right away, and in talking about what was going on, with it, he seemed like a guy I would sit and talk wrestling with and talk bullshit with. So it was a good show. It was fun. And I hope people check that out, as well as your other 45,000 shows you do every week on the Russo's brand.
Yeah, guys, tonight's Saturday night. So you literally, guys, I mean, we have the whole month of December. Matt said we had a special. If you've never been a brand member, just go to russosbrand.com. Get a month for free. It was our gift to you. 10 shows a week, no strings, no gimmicks, no long-term commitment. You could opt out after the month. But, bro, you got to do this by the end of the Monday night, bro. The 31st, December 31st is the last night, man. So if you're listening to this, go to russosbrand.com right now. Grab your free month, bro. It's free.
Well, the Q&A is over. The Prichard saga's over. A brand new year is upon us, Vince. I hope you have a happy new year. What wishes for the new year do you have for the Truth with Consequences family that's listening right now?
Oh, bro, can't we all just get along? Matt, here's what I'm going to do. You got to keep me in check for 2019. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a pact with you, my friend Matt Cohen.
Man, okay, all right, okay.
Hey, Matt, do you every time I promote us, like I say, Russo Coon with a K, do you constantly have to say that, or do you just assume people know that?
I know I have to say with a K often when I'm like somewhere where I have to give my name. Yeah, usually K. But okay. I'm not used to saying. I'm hoping people know who I am now. Maybe in the podcast world, they know it's a K. But
I hope so. Yeah.
My last name is not a great last name, and it's like a slur in some worlds. And so I was talking to I teach my son's ex-girlfriend music, and she was saying, yeah, I would take a last name of somebody, but I wouldn't take it of my last boyfriend, which is.
Matt, here's my pact to you. This is what I'm going to do. From now on, when something like this is said, okay, bro, I am going to state my case. Okay, I'm going to try to have proof, just like I did with Heenan, just like I did here with The Rock. I'm going to state my case. I'm going to state the proof. Bro, at that point, you either believe it or you don't. That's it.
And let me say this real quick, is all the Twitter followers and supporters, especially the ones that I've gotten into tussles with because I didn't think they represented you the way, I thought was productive. I got no problem personally with anybody doing the same thing, presenting the evidence, reinforcing the as evidence, asking questions. It's if maybe that's the example that's set, we can maybe enter a world where instead of when Meltzer tweets, you go, yeah, you stupid Mark or whatever, we can say, hey, what about this story? What about this thing that Vince Russo said about it? I don't see any problem with that. And I think your loyal brand member fans have been such a huge part of the show, and their support is not unrecognized.
No, and somebody just the other day, bro, and it blew me away. It was a brand supporter, and they had a red graph and a blue graph of Raw and SmackDown ratings from 2000 to 2018, bro. And I mean, it is a constant, consistent nosedive. And he put it out there. He put it up there for everybody to see. Like, okay, man, I'm not talking about it like here it is. And that's the bottom line, bro. So it's like, man, if guys, if you just want to believe people that are just gonna throw stuff out there, man, you're gonna live a very long, confused life, because anybody can say anything about anyone. That's why, bro, I always make it a point to like, okay, bro, I know that's not true. I know that didn't happen. I will do the best I can to dig up the evidence to show that never happened.
That's a great idea. I think that's a great pact. That's a great goal. I can't wait for 2019. It's going to be the year of Truth with Consequences. And we'll see you next week on Tuesday the 8th on Truth with Consequences.